welcome to the penultimate episode of LOTRO 101. Oops, slide on wrong page. Here we are. Here's our title. It's a dangerous business, Frodo, walking out your front door. So I figured this was a good quote to put as our title for today's episode. I hope everybody is well today. It is, as the date is, Saturday, March 28th. This episode is going to stop on time because I have an appointment at 6 o'clock. So we're going to discuss the tutorials for Lord of the Rings Online for brand new players. And we are going to go through the character creation process. And this is where you, the folks who are watching live, are going to help us, me, the royal me. You're going to help me decide what kind of character we're going to create to play with. Because for those of you who are following along at home live, unfortunately it won't be quite as useful to the folks who are watching asynchronously high on YouTube. Or our Twitch collection. We're going to play together if you're willing to join me in-game at the end of this class. And I should be hearing music behind me, but I'm not hearing music, which is very bizarre. I can hear seagulls, so the game, I have an instance of Lord of the Rings Online playing in the background. Normally it's supposed to provide music, and apparently it doesn't want to do that today. But that's okay. You'll hear the occasional seagull or a ship passing by. We don't need the music to get stuff done. I am, Thomas. I will be starting a brand new character on a brand new account. So none of the cool stuff that I normally get when I create a character on my regular account. However, I am right now logged into my regular account because I was hoping to have some background music here. I think I might actually see if I can make this happen anyway by rezoning. We'll see if this works. Because I do actually want a little bit of music playing in the background. And not simply listen to a howling cat. Well, that's not working very well. Well, that's not very good of it. I'm actually going to travel someplace else. We'll go to the Court of Lothlorien. Because it's going to force the game to play some music in the background. It's going to be pretty nice music. That'll do. Alright. Let's get to the Slides of Doom today. So, we're going to be setting foot in Middle-earth for the very first time. So, let's get into it. So, there are tutorials for brand new players to, get through their very first instance of Middle-earth. And back in the day, you couldn't skip them anyway. So, however, they're only available for the original 4 races: dwarves, elves, hobbits, and men. Because all of the newer races, high elves, Bjornings, and stout axes, the game pretty much assumes you've been there, done that. Plus, they didn't have to make any new ones, right? It was less work for them to just not do new starting tutorials for those races. There is a starting instance before you can play with the general population and join kinships and whatnot. But for the purposes of this thing, we're going to go with a race that you can just get. So, we're going to go with a completely free-to-play account. Nothing's been added to it. In fact, I just created the account earlier today. So, it's got nothing on it. We're starting fresh, the same as a, first-time player ever would. Haven't spent any money on it. None of that. So, this is recommended for brand new players, especially if you've never played LOTRO before or played video games of this nature before, because it will hold your hand through a little of the starting stuff, right? So this is recommended for a brand new player, even if you intend to play another race as your main, or if you just want to see the full story. This teaches you your basic movement, and that we've discussed in an earlier lesson, and skills such as targeting bad guys, equipping items, looting backpacks, and using a fighting skill. You get to meet each one of these 4 things. You get to meet book characters. You'll get to meet if you do the dwarven one. You'll get to meet certain characters. If you do the elf, you don't get to see the same characters in each one. They tailored them for each class or for each race. Each tells backstory leading into the primary Shadows of Angmar epic questline from the game's launch. So this is basically preparing you to begin your actual journey in the present day of Lord of the Rings Online. For example, the elf story is set hundreds of years before the present. The dwarf story is just prior to the Hobbit. And the Men and Hobbit story is immediately prior to game time. So you actually have the closest to the action, while the other 2 are more historical in nature. After you complete it for the first time on any given character of that race, you don't have to do it again. The game basically assumes that you kind of got it. So that's pretty cool. However, you have to tell it to skip the tutorial when you create your character. Otherwise, they'll be like, no, you gotta do it. Okay, so the starting instance. Now, this is after the tutorial. We're only going to get through the tutorial today. After your tutorial, your character will be placed in a starting instance. Now, elves and dwarves share the same starting instance after their tutorial. It is a place called Thorin's Gate, and it's in Erdluin, and Thorin's Gate is a dwarven center created by the developers back when they were still Turbine. So they basically postulated this is where Thorin originally came from, or this is a place that was built by Thorin's people when they, were in exile from Erebor. Now, the story here, we're going to do some spoilers, so sorry. Involves some dour hand dwarves, another clan of dwarves whose leader Skorgrim is in the elf tutorial. You'll meet Skorgrim in the elf tutorial. And the dour hand dwarves have been running the area into the ground and treating the Longbeards pretty badly since Thorin's death at the Lonely Mountain. And players will help Dwalin and the Longbeards reclaim Thorin's Hall. And once complete, the dwarves will continue questing in the regular version of that area, while the elves will be sent to another place called Kellendim, which, again, was created by the developers. It's not a lore-derived place. I mean, it's extrapolated from the lore, but it's not a name they brought up from Tolkien. So they had to kind of make some stuff up. And it's on the shores of Erdluin, and it's a port town where some ships will be heading out to Mithlond, to the Grey Havens, or even further out to Valinor. So if you start off as a man or a hobbit, once you're out of your starting instance, your starting tutorial, you're going to wind up in Archet, near Bree. And your story involves helping Aragorn, who is tending a ranger named Omdir, who was wounded in the tutorials for both races. So what they did with hobbits and men is they created a branch sort of tutorial where hobbits go one way, men will go another way, and they're kind of all involved in the same little plot, and then you wind up in the same area afterwards. Alright. And players will help the folk of Archet deal with the threat of the Blackwold Brigands. Okay? After the starting instance is over, hobbits will travel to Little Delving in the Shire and continue their story in the Shire, which is totally Shire. It's one thing I love about LOTRO is, like, if you're going to play a hobbit and you're questing in the Shire, it feels so real to what we've read about the Shire and hobbits in general in the books, and it's so much fun. Men will actually remain in Archet to help the townsfolk deal with the aftermath of this brigand's attack. Now, we'll go through one of those two starting instances once you and I, chat, decide what race we're gonna play. Because what I'd like to do is chat. You, the folks who are listening or watching live, we're going to pick. We're going to pick a. We're going to pick a single race to play. So we're all playing the same kind of character, so we can all group up and do the same sort of stuff. Now, each character will have... Well, let's rephrase this. We'll have to pick one of the two starting instances. Either the one in Thorin's Gate or the one in Archit. It doesn't matter which we choose. The main thing is, once you do your tutorial as your race, we need to be in the same place. Because I don't want to have... like half of our people being elves and half of our people being hobbits, right? We want to make sure we're all going to be able to easily hang out with one another once we complete our brief tutorials. So think about this while we're talking. So either go hobbits and men, which means we'll have benefit of those both sets of classes, or elves and dwarves. So just keep that in the back of your mind, and then we'll have a little decision here later on. So while you're thinking about that, let's move on to the races that we're not going to actually start playing today because they're different. Because you have to actually buy them. So I'm not asking class to buy anything for the game. You can play this game completely free to play. You can earn LOTRO points on your own to buy these additional races. So, Bjornings don't have a tutorial because they were created after the need for tutorials. They start out at the Bjorninghus in the Vales of Anduin immediately prior to game time. Our story involves Radagast the Brown visiting Grimbjorn and dispatching one of the Bjornings, you, to Bree to suss out the rumors involving the Shadow. This is actually the briefest of the starting instances. Players will arrive in Archit afterwards and continue questing as if starting as a man, because the Bjornings are, of course, an offshoot of the race of men. They're just skin changers. So, they are a little bit different. But even if we choose to play hobbits and men for our game session, which we will finish our game session on Monday, by the way, players are not going to be asked to buy a Bjorning to do this. This is just for flavor's sake. One of the interesting things about this is the Bjornings as a group are pretty much derived from being the family of Bjorn. So this is basically the only clear, distinct, direct, immediate link from a player character and a book character. You are descended from Grimbjorn. I mean, there's still some wiggle room there, but for the most part, you can say that you're descended from Bjorn himself. Whereas, as a hobbit, your genealogy looks like this. It's like, 5 million different, family lines and relatives, and I don't even want to think about how complex those family trees are. So it's harder to say that you're, like a first cousin, second cousin, once removed or whatever of, like Frodo or Bilbo, because those names have already been determined, right? So you can't say that you are, this book character or whatnot. So it's kind of interesting. And next up, we have the High Elves. The High Elves are actually, for me, fascinating because when the game originally started, I wanted to be an elf. And I wanted to be a high elf because they were the best elves and I just liked them, So when you start off as a high elf, you start off at the beginning of the siege of Mordor. You wake up as a character who is known to and a friend of Gil-galad, the High King of the Noldor. You are a Valinorian elf, or the first generation, early generation descendant of a high elf. You are the highest of the beings that remain in Middle-earth. Like, you can't say you're Vanyar, because Vanyar went to Valinor and they just stayed. So you have to be one of the Noldor that came back. You can either say that in your head canon, you can either be an elf who went to Valinor and came back, or the descendant of somebody who was in Valinor and came back. So the game gives you wiggle room to decide, because originally it was explicit that you were a Valinorian elf who had seen the two trees. And a lot of people were like, how did the incidents of this particular tutorial that doesn't jive, how was this able to happen? So your story involves the Siege of the Black Gate during the days of the Last Alliance. So you're gonna get to hang out with Gil-galad. He's gonna call you a friend and treat you with high esteem. And this Elendil the Tall, Isildur and Anarion will be there. Elrond will be there. Círdan the Shipwright, before he gets his beard, will be there. So you get to hang out with some pretty cool luminaries of, you know, Middle-earth lore. Players will interact with the High Kings and witness a parley between the kings and the Ringwraiths, the Nazgul, the Nine, and all of their finery. I still say the High Sorcerer of Herod has the best outfit. High Elves will then exit to the present. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but something bad happens to your character, and you basically spend the next 3,000 years in a coma because the Witch King of Angmar stabbed you. So, spoilers, you're gonna get stabbed. But you go to a brief interlude at Rivendell. For those of you who watched me streaming the other day, I took my character to the same place in Rivendell. We went fishing. It was actually kind of fun. Players will then, after a brief interlude in Rivendell where you talk to Elrond and Elrond breaks you the news that you've been asleep for 3,000 years, all Rip Van Winkle style, you will then travel with his sons, who's like, wait a minute, Elrond has sons? Because, of course, Elladan and Elro here were not born at the time of the Last Alliance. They were born in the Third Age. Players will travel to Kellandeem and then continue questing as if a regular elf. Alright. The latest race to be added to the game are Stoudaxe Dwarves. Now, their starting instance is set in the Third Age, 3017, basically the year before the Fellowship of the Ring. The story involves the dwarf clan discovered by players during the Mordor expansion. We found these dwarves that were enslaved by Mordor, called Stoudaxes, and Standing Stone thought it was a cool idea to add them as a race to the game. So this is set as a prequel to their story as to how a single or multiple Stoudaxe dwarves escaped Barad-dûr, because you're enslaved in the Dark Tower. Alright, you get to escape Mordor, you travel to Thorin's Gate in Eren Luin, and you have an interlude with the Dour Hands. You get to meet Skorgrim before he died, or before they go wander off, and then you go on to Thorin's Gate to continue as if a regular dwarf. Alright, so those are our starting instances. That's a lot of fun, so let's go to our helpful links, and what we're going to do is you and I, chat, are going to create a brand new character. So my question for you, do you want... those of you who are going to join me in game, we're going to be on the Landreval server. So if you've created your account already and you're ready to create a character, or maybe you already have, well, let's all start at the same place. I am actually going to fire up my alternate account here. Again, this is a brand new account. Eventually, I'm going to use this account for one of my band members. So you'll see that minstrel sitting there, but we don't have to play a minstrel. It helps if I actually type in the right thing there. Alright, I'm actually going to kill this instance of the game because I don't want this music in the background while I start up. So let's start up the game. Switch over to the gameplay screen while this fires up. Hit the play button, Frank. Yeah, Tomas, that was actually the plan, is that we all start at the same place so we all can, you know, go through the steps together. Now, as a rule, your starting tutorial, you do that by yourself. Once you're out of the tutorial into the starting instance, then we can all, hang out together and, we can group up if we want to. None of the stuff in the starting instances actually requires you to group up. Alright, so this is my free-to-play account. This Hobbit Minstrel is sitting here. She's going to be a member of my band. It's called Indigo Plant, and it's a long-standing in-joke for me, though Bids 4 is actually a slight reference to a quest in Dunland. One of the more famous one-liners from LOTRO is where there's an auction of people, and Saruman rolls in and goes, Isengard bids 5. Sadly, on Langevall, the name is already taken, so I had to, make do. So, let's create a new character. Where do we want to start? Do we want to start in Archit, or do we want to start in Thorin's Gate? I'm good with either. I've done them all, been there, done that. So I can do whatever chat wants, wherever you want to go after chat. One of the two places. Tomas wants to go to Archit. Alright. So that does come up to a second question, is where do we want to go after the starting instance? Do we want to wind up, well, let's focus on the starting instance. Tomas wants to go to Archit. Does anybody else have an opinion one way or the other? Because I remember when I was talking last time, a lot of people were really interested on seeing stuff from the Hobbit perspective. So that's kind of where I was going with what kind of character I wanted to make. The only main difference here is, I'm going to click new character, is if you create a character from the race of men, you are going to get more choice as to what class you play. Remember from the previous session, certain races can only play certain classes. So if you choose the race of man, you're going to get everything except Bjorning and Runekeeper. If you choose a hobbit, you can only be a burglar, a guardian, a hunter, and a minstrel. You could be a warden if you had that unlocked on your account. Now, as you see from this brand new account, let's go back here. You notice right above where it says characters, it says free account. This account has no purchases. It's never been VIP. I never spent any money on the account. So we're starting from, brand new, no goodies, no extras, none of the stuff that I'm used to having on my account. Also notice the monster play button is grayed out because this account doesn't have a character who's ever been level 10. So I can't do monster play on this account yet, which is fine. It's not my preferred kind of thing. And also, let's go back here. You may also notice where it also says how many character slots are used. A brand new account can only have 2 characters on it unless you unlock more slots. A premium account gets more slots. A VIP account gets more slots, and then you can always add more slots. I think the maximum number of characters on a server you can have is like 42 or some ridiculous number like that. I think only my friend Sam Burke, one of our regulars in Professor Corey's classes, has that many characters unlocked on any given server, but he's a wacky boy. Alright, so you may also notice, different from how I was demonstrating the classes and the login screen, is firstly you see I don't have the skip tutorial button down here because I've never been through the tutorial for any of these classes. You may also notice the gold coin here with the Standing Stone logo on it. That means this is something you have to buy in the LOTRO store. And you're going to see a lot more of this than you saw in a lot of my demonstrations previously because I was on my lifetime account where I'm VIP and pretty much everything's unlocked, right? This will be what you're going to see on a completely free-to-play, nothing's unlocked yet account. So, basically I wanted to keep it going. So, Hobbit or Man, I think folks were kind of gunning for a hobbit. Folks wanted to, so once we're done with our starting instance, we're going to be thrown into our final instance. So why don't we get the widest variety? I'm going to recommend we play hobbits. Unless somebody is really, really, really eager to play one of the other classes that the race of man can play, which in this case is a captain, a champion, or a lore master. Again, the champion is actually easy to play, in my opinion. It's a lot of just button mashing to get where you need to go. Captain takes a little bit of thinking. It's not recommended for a first-time player. And your lore master is pretty advanced, but Guardian, Hunter, and Minstrel are all pretty good classes for a new player. Burglar, of course, is the iconic Hobbit burglar. Everybody wants to be Bilbo. Everybody has a Hobbit burglar on their account. I do. Actually, I have one on Landreval. I have one on Crickhollow. And also, currently, the only races that can be a burglar are hobbits, men, and stout axe dwarves. So, there you go. So, I'm going to pick up a hobbit. Now, what do you think, chat? Why don't you tell me what you want to see me play during our starting instance? I can be a burglar, which means I can go in and damage things. Or I can be a guardian, where I can go in and, kind of protect other people. I can be a hunter. I can stand back and shoot things from a distance. That being paired up with a hunter as like your lead character, the experienced character, is generally quite, honestly, it's not that fun. Simply because they're standing back there shooting things before you, if you're a melee character like a guardian, you can't even get to it yet. I was actually paired with somebody. We were playing a guardian and a hunter, and they weren't playing guardian. Like, I was the guardian, and they were like a minstrel, actually. And they didn't want to play a healing minstrel, so I was like, okay, they were just shooting things from a distance, and it wasn't fun. But again, it's really up to what you and your friends want to do if you're going to be grouping with people. Minstrel can be fun. You stand back and you can shoot things, or the other main purpose of a minstrel is to heal your friends. So that can actually be fun if you're the designated healer. Your job is to keep people alive. For the longest time, while Corey was learning to play his burglar, I was running as his stealth healer. And I would be off camera, and I'd wait till he gets in, his health was low, and then I'd hit him with a heal from a distance. People couldn't see me, because I made a game of it, trying to stay off the screen. That's why it's called the stealth healer. So I'd heal him from a distance, and it was a lot of fun, actually. And occasionally I would actually tank for him. He wanted to go visit a place called Limelight Gorge, which is not recommended to go in there by yourself if you're on level for it. But with a over-leveled healer, it was fine. And I wound up tanking, which is not recommended for healing classes. So, we're going for a hobbit. What do you want to see me play? Bearing in mind that I don't have Warden to play, and I'm not very good at it anyway. So, would you like to see me create a burglar, a guardian, a hunter, or a minstrel, chat? Give you a few moments to think about it. And you can also play the same thing if you want. There's nothing that says that if I play a guardian that you can't also play a guardian. There can be a lot of fun in having a group of, like, all one class running certain content. Because you can run a lot of content without healers. Like all hunter group can be fun, or an all guardian group, or a half guardian, half hunter. So don't feel like my choice will restrict you from your choice, right? And also, if you want to play one of the classes that men can play, and we do the same instance, let me know, first of all, what you want me to play, and then you decide on your end of things what you want to play. Sneak is the best skill in the game. I would agree with you. Plus, burglars also get the treasure hunting thing, which I find pretty cool. Or is that a Hobbit thing? I forget. Isn't that a Hobbit thing? One of the racial traits? I forget. We'll find out. So anyway, what would you like to see my character be? Yeah, we can have a mix of men and hobbits. So if you don't want to play a hobbit, Tomas, and you'd rather play a man, you can go ahead and create a man character. And it doesn't have to be gender specific. If that's a Tolkienian thing, is the race of men includes women. So go figure. And maybe I can be a hobbit burglar. Okay, I can make a hobbit burglar. There we go. I'm gonna choose a lady hobbit because I like lady hobbits. Though I am really concerned about the position of that one knife in her hand. It's like, are you stabbing yourself with that? Also, one thing I like about the Shire is if you twist around, you click and drag, you can see the rainbow over there. In certain day-night cycles, depending on the weather, you will see a rainbow in this Shire, and I just love it. Then other places, there's a bug where you can see a rainbow at night, and it's even better. So, Hobbit Burglar. Alright. So I'm going to go with a Hobbit Burglar. Again, you choose whatever you want to play as long as it's a man or a Hobbit. So once we do our tutorial, we'll be able to play together. And we'll go through the starting instance. Or else we'll just get through the tutorial. Or we'll start the starting instance, do a couple of the quests. Because again, I do have a firm end time today. Now, I personally can play through a starting instance in less than an hour, but since we are doing this as a group, and I want to make sure we have time to answer questions and whatnot, we'll go with it from there. So let's create ourselves a character. Actually, it does give me the option to skip new to user tutorial, which, no, it doesn't. I can't click. Okay, I didn't intend for that to happen. Let's try this again. Okay, so don't click skip the new user tutorial. That's very important. So don't click that. Alright. So we have to decide what kind of hobbit we're going to be. As I mentioned in a previous class when we were discussing character creation, hobbits have 3 origins you can choose from. And you can choose based on the lore of the character. Like where they came from. Like, you know, Stoors were the last of the hobbit kindreds to come to the Shire. The Harfoots were the Hole Dwellers and were the first to cross west into Eriador, so they were the ones who came first. And you notice the naming guidelines for hobbits are pretty much the same no matter what. I personally tend to make my hobbits fallow hides. Not because of the lore, mainly because I always like to have my primary character on a game to have red hair. Right? So I always wander around. So if you want to pick a hair color, what you do is there's this little dot here. And you can click and drag it around. Or you can just click in a different place in this. And one of the downsides is, even though the hair color thing seems to be quite quite indicative, sometimes when you click on something, it doesn't look exactly the same as what you think it should be. So I'm gonna go for the reddest of the red that I can find, which is like right there. I like that. Alright. Now you can adjust the body type. There's the median. You can make them a little bit skinnier. Or you can make them a little bit... Wow, it's a bit more shouldery, honestly. Not sure I like that. So, big shoulders or big hips. That's kind of a weird juxtaposition there. So, I'm gonna go for the middle, because that's kind of what I'm used to. I generally don't adjust the body type slider here. Skin color, we'll zoom back in again. I generally like something that looks like the character has a little bit of tan, but not too much. I mean, hobbits generally do go outside a lot. You know, they're hardworking farmer types. a lot of times. Even like Bilbo would have done his own little bit of gardening, even though he has, you know, Samwise to do it for him for many years, or the Gaffer before him. But he would still be out there as a gentleman gardener outside, you know, of course, taking long walks in the Shire and whatnot. So he'd have some weathering on. He wouldn't be like porcelain pale like this. This doesn't look right to me. So a character who's been outside, and you can darken it up a little bit, get a real good tan, but again, this is a Middle-earth thing, is you're not going to find a lot of colors that are going to be, for example, dark-skinned. And it's because they're based on the lore and how that works out. So, let's see. I think that'll do. Alright, for eye color, even though she's a redhead, and traditionally red and green eyes, which you normally get with a redhead. Wow, that's bizarre. I generally go for blue eyes because that's what I have. So, a redhead with blue eyes. And now we're going to adjust our details. So we can have a little mole, we can have a mole, we can have a scar, we can have another scar, freckles, a little bit of blush, another scar, even more freckles. You can be wrinkly as if you're old. You can be super wrinkly as like you're super old. Like if you wanted to put your character with white hair, let's show you with white or gray hair. It could be like a grandma burglar. And that's not to be disrespectful. Grandmas are fierce and they will kick your butt. My maternal grandmother had mastered the art of throwing those big wooden spoons that you see in country homes sometimes. The ones that were clearly like modeled after cauldrons. And she would whip those across the house if she was mad at you. She was never mad with me, so I never got hit with them, but my mom told me that she was bad enough a few times she got hit with those. So, back to my redhead. I generally actually go down to up, and I generally do hairstyle last, and that's just a personal preference. So, I'm gonna go with the default. The mouth is, for hobbits, is always a little bit tricky. Because for lady hobbits, they don't really have a lot that I like. And this is even after the revamp. I think this was the one I liked the best. Now, also, one of the things... Grandma Burglar. I know. Actually, that sounds like fun. Tomas, why don't you go ahead and create the new character while we're going through this? So, I'm just going through mine, but if that's distracting, you can, tune me out while you create your own character. And we'll get to the hardest part of creating a new character, finding a name that's not already in use. A lot of times what players will do is they might try to go for the direct name. So, for example, the examples down here in the corner, which you can't see because my head is covering it, is like, examples of first names are Belladonna, Dora, Esmeralda, Lobelia, Ruby, Sapphire, and Tulip. Well, those names are taken or restricted so you can't use them anyway, because Lobelia is, a canonical name. However, these servers have been open, at least Landreval has been open since 2007, so there's a lot of players who have come and gone, and names are in use. Now, when you're creating your character's name, you're only creating the first name. So that's one thing you gotta keep in mind, is if your character has a surname, which a lot of characters, like men will have surnames, like, Barlam and Butterbur. Hobbits will have surnames, like Bilbo Baggins. Men may not. They could or could not. Like, Aragorn is just Aragorn. Though he does get a surname when he gets coronated. And he gets crowned. Kinged, as they like to say. There is a Lobelia on Arkansas, or there was. Well, interesting. That'd be funny. Sometimes you'll see people try to come up with variations of the canonical characters' names. Like, there used to be a long-running meme about how did you spell Legolas? How many L's, how many G's, how many L's, how many S's, right? they could take the name, for example, Ruby, and try to find an in-character respelling of it. Especially if you're making a dwarven character or an elven character. You go look up your Sindarin dictionaries or whatever, and try to find a word that matches, right? Go talk to the Dwaro scholar, our resident lore master when it comes to Khuzdul, which is the secret language of the dwarves, right? I personally have come up with names because I like certain names on all of my video games, so my main is called Phoenix. It's not in character, it's not in theme, and I don't care. However, Phoenix is already in use on Landravol by me, so we have to come up with something new. And I've already cycled through some of the names that I don't currently use on Landy, and they apparently are still in use, so it's kind of a bummer. So I still have to find... Is the sky changing? I think the sky is changing in the background. So I have to come up with a name, but we also have to pick our eyebrows. Eyebrows are important, right? Actually, I'm going to turn that fan back on. I hope you guys can't hear the fan. So let's see what kind of eyebrows this burglar is going to have. I like those. I don't like pencil thin eyebrows. Those are pretty good too. I think those are my favorite. Okay. Now we're going to choose the head. I always leave the hairstyle for last because, and I generally, for hobbits, there's only certain hairstyles. And you notice, hobbits have pointed ears. On any character that I have that has pointed ears, whether they're a hobbit or an elf, I always try to find a way that their hairstyle lets the points show. I mean, what's the point of having pointed ears if you can't see them, right? Alright, so let's pick a head, as it were. And the head will change, and we're going to put it in profile because you'll see one of the main things the head differences changes is the nose. See how the nose is changing when I'm cycling through? However, I'm going to pick something that looks good with all the other things that I've chosen. So 6 is actually pretty good. And you notice how the mouth is changing. So sometimes I'll change the head first and then do the mouth last. So 8 looks pretty good. She looks pretty serious. And I like to generally go like a 3/4 profile when I'm doing this, so I can kind of get an idea how the cheekbone rests, how the chin is, and then also, yeah, I can still see how the mouth is going. She likes her victuals, and that's fine. We're not making any shame here. I like that one. She kind of looks like she's smiling, so I really like that one, actually. So number 10 was she was kind of smiling. 14 is actually pretty good. Her eyes are seem a little bit bigger, a little bit more curious. I think there's curiosity in this expression. I like this one. So 10 and 14 are right now my favorite. Well, 15 is actually pretty good too. Not so much curiousness though. Yeah, that one just looks kind of dull. Now, one thing on here is you can see where it says Avatar Update Visible. This is what the character would have looked like with the old character creation screen before they made things a little bit more, a little bit different. They basically did a higher quality version of the character. If you notice, the character's face is a little, you can see a little bit more what's called polygons. These are lower resolution graphics. You see how these look. And one thing you want to be cautious of is if you yourself don't like the new ones and you want to use one of the old ones, the other players around you will see the new ones in general terms. So we're going to put, see, this is the newer graphics, the smoother graphics, and these are the old that are a little bit more blocky. So they don't look exactly the same. So I'm going to have the update visible. So we're going to pick a face that I liked. And remember, I think I liked 10 a lot. Yeah, she's got that little hook of a nose, so I'm not too keen on that. Because I'm not playing Severus Snape, right? On the other hand, she's kind of smiling, and I do kind of like that. She's got that little uptick. I like a happy hobbit burglar, right? So she looks a little bit more grumpy. Her mouth is turned down. This is Miss Curiosity right here. I like this one too. I don't like the eyebrows with this though. Those eyebrows, oh wow. That, I like this face. Right? Yeah, Darren. It's amazing what you think is super original turns out to be taken already. I know, right? But Grandma Burglar. But I like this face. We're gonna go with this face, even though I changed my ideas on the eyebrows. The arched eyebrows, they're not pencil thin, but there's enough of them, but I like... She looks like a curious hobbit. Now, here comes the hard part. Picking a name. When I was creating characters for my band, I was actually surprised at some of the names that were available. So, well, she's not a hobbit mom. She's not. I don't think she's gonna be a mother. I don't think she'll be old enough to be a mother. Now, if I were making her with a wrinkle face, I would give her the gray hair, and she'd be Grandma Burglar. All right, let's come up with a name. And this is going to be the really hard part because, again, all the good names are taken. But I want something that's in theme for a hobbit. So I don't want one of my usual fantasy character names. And as I mentioned, you're only going to create your character's first name. When your character hits level 15, you can go to a notary in many places. Like, there's one in Bree, for example. And you can buy a surname, and you can have the surname be whatever you want, right? And a lot of people will use their surnames to then make a joke with their first name. I might have done that once. I was bad about it, but you made your Cinnamon. Nice. You can also misspell words to come up with a good name, so let me try something here. Let's see if Saphira is available, because I like sapphires. Nope, it's taken. Let's see if Safi is taken. I'm sad! Alright, let me... Alright. We're going to make a World of Warcraft pun. I hope nobody's done this one already. Saffronetta. Yay! Saffronetta is available! I have a character. So, in case you're wondering, Saffronetta Flivers is a character created by my dear friend Christy Golden. Yes, that Christy Golden. Who is a gnome engineer type who is married to a goblin, which is very amusing because they're in different factions, right? Horde and Alliance. But Saffronetta Flivers is a wonderfully sassy character who has bright red hair. And you know what? I forgot to go through the hairstyles. Oh no! Well, I'm not going to risk losing my awesome character name here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the tutorial. So everybody, if you've got your character ready, see your character names there. Most female hobbits seem to have flower names. Actually, my female hobbit, yeah, my hobbit burglar in Arkenstone is Bluebell. And my hobbit burglar on Crick Hollow is Star Sapphire. So remember, class, that I messed up my character's hair because I didn't go through the hairstyles? Shame on me. We will go then visit the barber at a later... Well, we won't have time to visit the barber. But there are barber characters. There's one in the Prancing Pony itself in Bree, where you can then, if let's say you mess something up in your character creation and you don't like it, you can spend in-game gold, silver in this case, to change your character's appearance. So it's really cool. So let's start our starting instance. And yes, you can change the hairstyle at later time. So let me get in the game. I'm going to go through the Hobbit tutorial and then let the game take me to Archit, because my character is going to start as a burglar in Archit. Let's do it. Click the shiny button. And you'll get a loading screen. And a lot of times, yes, Tomas, please, if you've got your character created, let's go and let's everybody start our tutorial. And I'll take you through my tutorial so you can see what's going on. And if you have any questions about what you're seeing.
For a nighttime stroll in the Shire, there is a certain unpleasant feeling lingering about. Something on the air is strange tonight. Perhaps it is only the unseasonable chill or the great darkness of this particular evening. But surely it is nothing noteworthy, for this is the Shire, and it is rare indeed for any evil to touch this land.
Alright. So, one of the things is, as you go through playing the game, I'm going to bring my chat window up here. You heard the voice actor in the background. And that was actually our original Gandalf voice actor. And I'm actually going to turn off world chat because world chat is distracting. And it can be really rude. People are talking about race changes, which is something that is eventually coming to the game. We may have more news on it next week, or that may be server transfers. I have to go back and watch yesterday's Court of the Rings to remember what he was actually talking about. Anyway, so this is our chat window. Let me make it opaque here real quick. Wait, can't make it opaque there. It's over here. Loading text. I actually will turn on chat filter, chat bubbles while I'm dealing with it. Chat bubbles. No, that's not what I'm looking for. Chat window opacity. Gotta make that darker so people can read it better. Alright. So, if you heard that voice actor, we are on Landreval. So, Ermintrude, Cinnamon, and Tomas has a character and hasn't told us who they are yet. But that's fine. Alright. So you will actually see a lot of the voice acted stuff appear in your general chat window unless you've turned that stuff off. So this is what Gandalf read to us, was this stuff right here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, I'm actually going to use my layout load LOTRO UI. I've already created a layout of the game. However, I'm going to turn the tutorials back on because you will all see the tutorials and I want the screen to sit. So show tutorial hints, and I also want to reset them. Alright, so the first tutorial was telling us how to move. You can move by, there's two different ways. The one I like is holding down the left and right mouse buttons at the same time. And then it will tell you how to move your camera around. Hold down the left mouse button and move the mouse around. And if you use the right mouse button, you will turn yourself and the world around. And you can use your mouse to move the camera around you as the center focus. Either way. And you can also tell the game not to show you that hint ever again. If you get this little icon in the left-hand corner, this little question mark icon, it will tell you which tutorial you're on. You can also click it to open it back up. Alright. I'm actually going to turn off more chat filters. I'm going to turn off the ones I don't normally have on, because they will be annoying and vexing. Alright. LFF was the other noisy one. Alright. I'll leave the other ones on for now. And I'm also going to bring the chat window up here a little bit, because I realize that it's hanging out. Well, actually, let me put it over here on the right hand side. And again, I'm going to redo the opacity so you can see it better. Where's my chat opacity? Right here. Boop. There, I'm not going to make it like completely black so you can still see behind it. Alright. So we're going to OK that window. It says walk up the road, move forwards by pressing W. Another thing is, by default, your character's name will not appear. Even if you have, like, you hit the N key that turns floating names on and off, you see Bounder Boffin's name, but you don't see mine no matter how I do it. However, you can go into the options and go to name, and you can have it show my character's name. I like to see my own nameplate. One thing that really annoys me about Standing Stone's other game is you can't ever see your own nameplate. It's very annoying. Now, remember, I also have my text set larger so people can read it on screen. Okay, ale wine. Well, basically, Tomas, once you launch the game, are you here in the Shire or are you in Archit in the jail? Alright, so Saffronetta, we are here. Now, what you can do in the tutorial instance is you can open up the map and see where you are. You're in the Green Hill Country. So, we're going to make some friends here in a minute. And you notice we're facing toward the Hobbiton Tookland area, you notice. And you see our little arrow here. As my character spins around, the arrow spins around too. But by default, we were looking at Bounder Boffin, and he was behind us on the Tuckborough side of things. And map is M, to open up your map, by default. And if you notice, as a starting burglar, I have 4 skills down here in my bar. Now, I generally don't leave my stealth skill, which is this skill. And you can hover over them, and they will tell you what that skill does. Like Surprise Strike, it tells you, you know, how much damage it does. You know, if you do a critical hit, how does that do, or how can you cause one of those? It basically tells you what it does. And you can, by default, if you haven't locked your quick slots down, which is actually a good idea to lock them if you're not used to them, you can click and then drag your skills to any one of these. And suddenly, this is my stealth skill. I can sneak. Now, just like the lore of The Hobbit, when you're in stealth mode, you can still kind of be seen. You can kind of see my character. You know, this little wavy outline. It's more apparent during the daytime, of course, because that's the lore. It's actually impossible to hide your character from your own client unless you are an admin, like a member of Standing Stone Games who has your account set up to do that. Cordovan used to do that when he streamed concerts, and then I really disliked how he streamed concerts, so I said, stop doing that, I'll do it. Anyway, Bounder Boffin is waiting for us, so we're going to move up the road. It says, over here in our quest text, it says walk up the road, and it tells you move forwards by pressing W. So the other way to move your character around is, this is a traditional gaming movement thing, is WASD, also pronounced WASD because, you know, gamers are weird. So WASD. So W is forward, S is backwards, A is you turn in yourself to the right, D is you're turning yourself to the left. However, one cool thing about LOTRO is you can do something called strafing, which is where you can move your character to the left or right with Q for the left and E for the right. And those are the default keys. If those don't work for you, again, in a previous lesson, we talked about, an earlier lesson, it feels so long ago, we talked about altering your key binds. And you can change, let's say, another game you play and you're used to using A and D as your strafing keys. Like DDO, the other game, uses A and D for their strafe. I'm like, why don't you use the same keys for both games? But they don't. So Q and A. And you can also make these work together so we can move forward and strafe at the same time. Move forward, or hey, look at that. Quests and quest rings. I have a lesson on that. And that will tell you what a quest ring is in terms of the game stuff. It says, many characters and even objects will offer quests and information. Right-click anyone or anything with a ring icon to receive or advance a quest. Blue can tell you that the NPC may have helpful reminders. Some of them will give you additional voiceover, especially in the Bingo Boffin questline. Epic story quests will have a flaming rig to signify the importance of the quest for the main story. Okay, thank you. But there's no quest ring yet. There will be one when we come up here and talk to Bounder Boffin. But remember, we can move backward and we can also strafe. That's a little bit harder. Look at that. Anyway. Alright. The game will also give you give you instructions in white text in the screen. And then Bounder Boffin suddenly has a quest ring over his head. Alright, here's the quick tutorial. The tutorial hint on looting. It says, sparkly, see the satchel is sparkling? Okay, it says right-click the object you wish to loot and then right-click the items to loot them. Now, this little hint from the game assumes that you have not done the wise thing. And there is an option called Always Loot All. I highly recommend you turn it on because that means you won't have to run up to things. So we're going to turn Always Loot All off for right now, so we can follow the in-game tutorial. Alright. But first, we are going to talk to Bounder Boffin.
Ho there! What's your business on the road?
We're going to click OK here. And so you'll get your quest text. It'll be a combination of what the other people are saying and also instructions for, or more story to fill in, like, some prose to say what's going on. Occasionally there's even a poem. Alright, a hobbit. I'm awfully sorry. I just had a bit of a scare. Something doesn't feel quite right. One of the things that you can do, by the way, is there's some newer quality of life things here. You can use this little icon with the A and the A next to it. If you want to, you can make your quest text bigger. Professor Corey often does this when he's streaming Grifflet because he wants people to be able to read what's going on. Okay, Tomas, hang out there in our chat. We'll join you in a few minutes. You can also make it small, and it only goes down to the game default. Also, you can't do this in the starting instances. Once you're in the regular game world, if there's a quest you never want to see again, if it pops up, and you can either click on the single figure here, it would normally be like a blue icon, or you can click the multiple figure dude here. See, right below my pointer. This filters it by your account, or by person, by one player, and this filters it for the entire account. Now, there are other filters in the account that you can do. And it doesn't show up here because we haven't unlocked them yet. However, if you hit Alt-R, you will discover more filters. Now, you can filter loot. So let's say there's an item that always drops and you're tired of getting that item clogging up your bags. You can take the item out of your inventory, my very pitiful inventory here, and then you drag that item over here. And you can either filter it by that one character, or you can filter it so none of your characters ever see that item drop in their loot. Now, one of the things to be aware of is when you filter loot, your account technically still gets it. So it's not going to, let's say you're trying to farm a raid for a specific piece of loot, and you know you've already got every other single piece of loot that boss will drop or something. Filtering those unwanted pieces of loot will not improve your chances of getting the one you want. It just means that when your loot window appears, you're going to see everything except the stuff you filtered. So it doesn't help you get the loot you want. It just basically keeps your bags from being cluttered with the loot you don't want. You can also filter quests. So once you're in the main world, like if you filter a quest with this, it will show up here based on which of the two you've chosen. And that means you never see that quest again until you unfilter it. The way you unfilter something is you click whatever it is, and then you drag it out, and it's unfiltered again. You can also do that with sounds. And for example, the sound filter is actually very useful for a couple of reasons. One is I like to stream concerts occasionally, and there are some emote sounds that are obnoxious, like the bubble pipe. There's an emote called bubble pipe. It's cute, but for a concert, it's very loud and it's distracting. So you filter it out. And how do you filter a sound out? You hit the shiny button that says record. And the game will play every sound that's currently playing. Right now, we're in a quiet area. So the game is only playing a couple of different things. During a concert, or you're in battle, or you're in town, you're going to see this list scroll and scroll and scroll until you click stop. And then you can pick a sound and drag it over here. And all of a sudden, this character never hears the button press noise again. If I want to filter it for my account, no character on my account hears the button press noise. And then you can drag it out to make it go away. Alright. So that's filtering quests, loot, and sounds. In the meantime, we're going to continue our quest here. You notice how small bags that I have? So let's take a look at this. So this is a completely free-to-play account. So the only bags I get, this is how much space my character has to start with. We mentioned these 3 buttons in a previous class. This button will let you edit your bags. You can put them all over here if you want to. By slots of 5. You notice there's bags 4, 5, and 6, but I don't have those bags. You can then, that's why you have the little LOTRO store icon there if you want to buy more space. You can buy additional slots here, and then you can, filter them out however you like. So we're going to leave them like this because I like my bags all in one big fell swoop. All right. So let's speak to the Hobbit who is calling out to us. Who goes there? What is your business on the road? I am a bounder. Answer me at once. So he's obviously startled because he doesn't know what's going on. The alarm in his face when he sees your face. Oh, Hobbit, I'm awfully sorry. I just had a bit of a scare. Something doesn't feel quite right. There's an odd chill in the air. Do you know how to fight? Well, I'm going to learn how to fight here in a minute. Just need a weapon of some sort, and then he will lead you over to your satchel. Then remember, it said to right-click on the item to loot it.
Inside is a spare weapon.
So by default, items will show up. Again, I have loot all normally turned on, so I don't have to click on stuff to loot it. You can either right-click on an item to loot the one thing. Yes, and we'll ask you if it's something that's going to bind to your character. Are you sure you want to do that? Then you say yes. And then here is the default tutorial for inventory and items. We've already gone over this, but, it's sometimes easier to see when you're doing it yourself for the very first time. And you can open the character panel, and it tells you how to drag equipment on to equip it. And what happens if you already have an item in a slot. Let's say you already have your knife in your main hand and you want to equip a new knife. It will, it will show up, the old knife will show up in your inventory. Alright, click OK. And then if you just wanted to loot everything all at once, you just click loot all. And if you click I, there's your inventory. And I have both of these knives. And one thing the game will let you do is it will let you see what's going on here. So you can see what you currently have in your inventory, the thing you're looking at, and then you can see what your character already has. So my character already has a knife that does 5 to 9 points of common damage. That's a random roll. You'll get somewhere between 5 and 9, and it's rated at 7 DPS. That's 7 damage per second. The knives I have here, this one says it's 4, and this other one says it's 4. So basically, neither of these are as good as the main one I already have, but I do want to have one of these too. So I'll right click on one of them. And because this character can dual wield, it's where they can wield a weapon in both hands. Since I already have something in my main hand, it will put it in my offhand. So this other knife is just sitting in my inventory because I have nowhere to put it. And because it's not as good as the one I already had, I don't want to use it anyway. So there's that. Alright, so we've equipped our daggers. We're ready to go. You notice we have daggers on our hips. 1 each. Alright, let's talk to the bounder. Alright, so it says accessing your inventory. The green text is your tutorial. It tells you what to do. And then red is, of course, your warning. You should equip your best weapon before attempting to engage in combat. Now, since I was a burglar, they gave me burglar items. If I were playing a guardian, it would have offered me a sword and a shield. Alright. If I was a hunter, it would have offered me a bow and maybe a knife. Alright. It says right click on him to target him in combat. Left click on your skill icons at the bottom of the screen to practice them. You can also just hit the numbers that match 1, 2, and 3. What's this? We've got people coming up.
Did you hear something?
Did you hear something?
There, down the road. Who could that be?
Shenanigans! Samwise and Peregrine Took, Mr. Frodo Baggins. Hobbin's out for a stroll. That gives you the tutorial for combat. What is that? What's going on? We're all cowering. There's something wrong. I think we should get off this road at once. So this is a slightly altered version of the event in the books where that trio went and hid in the bushes. And you notice, remember we talked about hope and dread previously? Suddenly this is a dread effect, and if you go over to this little icon, we've got one of the Nazgul here. He's the Black Rider. And this is what happens when your dread is 5 or more. You get the Eye of Sauron in place of your mini-map and the oh crap thing. And you'll notice my character's health bar
Did you see that?
changed to a lot of red. And during that moment, you can see that my character is not as powerful as she normally is. Now, when the dread goes away, she's back to normal.
Will you clear the path?
Okay, Bounder Boffin's out of his depths. He wants us to clear out the wood spiders. So we'll do that. We're gonna sneak. Because, remember, this skill is a stealth surprise strike. These all say stealth. Well, these two say stealth because if you're stealth, you get more damage out of them. So, as a burglar, I want to strike the enemy, dealing more damage from behind or when stealthed. And the other one is what's called a bleed. A bleed means you hit them once and they keep, they keep losing health over time. So we are stealth. We're coming up behind them. We're gonna move around. Now, even if you're stealth, if you're low level or you get too close to the critter and you're in front of them, they'll notice you anyway. So we're gonna target them and then we're gonna hit them. And then once you go into combat, you're out of stealth. This is burglar specific. So this tells you about experience and leveling up. And you get better as you level up. You get access to new skills and better able to, equip better in armor and weapons. So this one we're just going to take on face to face because we're being brave today. We're being bold. We've got 2 knives, not just one. And now it says to go back and talk to the Bounder, who apparently hates spiders as much as Indiana Jones hates... snakes. Okay, so he's got our quest. You notice it's flaming, which means we're ready to turn this quest in.
Well done. Let's press on now.
All right.
Blast! I just need to find the key.
Alright, so this person wants us to defend him while they're doing their thing. Sometimes when they say defend me while I'm doing something, you'll have a bar below their name, or below your name, where you have to keep an eye on their health. That's important, especially if you're a healer character. In this particular case, you just have to kill the spiders. So you don't have to worry about the Bounder's health. He's just kind of there. But if you die, if you get defeated by the spiders, then you have to start this instance all over again. At last, okay. We want to talk to the Bounder again. And as you go through your quest information over here will update with your new objective for that quest. It's really cool. Alright. And sometimes you'll get ahead of the person you're escorting. So this is actually an escort quest. Alright. Sure to pay attention to these events to gain insight into your quests. Sometimes you'll be momentarily halted in order to watch very important scenes. These are called cutscenes. So you're going to hang out and watch this cutscene. Who are these? They're being chased by brigands. Celandine Brandybuck and Mundo Sackville Baggins? Brigands! Oh no! And there's going to be times where events happen to your character that there's nothing you can do. Like, you can't stop this guy. You can't attack him. Because his you click on him, his vitals are green, which means he's friendly. What do they want with Mundo? Well, his name had Baggins in it. So you don't, I mean, even though that guy was attackable, his bar was red. We're in prison! We're in the Blackwold jail. Actually, this hairstyle is actually kind of growing on me because it's very functional. So I think I might keep it, actually. What? Oh, toast!
Seem to turn up in the most unlikely places, Bounder Boffin.
There's our friend Bounder Boffin. This is a ranger. Your grim-looking rescuer. It's Strider! That's the cool thing, is you get to meet book characters throughout these. So if you started as a dwarf, you get to meet Thorin Oakenshield and Gandalf as Thorin is ready to start heading to the Shire to go pick up a certain burglar. If you play a high elf, you wind up talking to Gil-galad and Link. And if you're a hobbit, you get to run into Strider! And you also ran into Frodo, Pippin, and Samwise. So, I don't know. I think the hobbits kind of win out on this because they get the... I don't know. Gandalf and Thorin versus the trio and Strider. I don't know. You like the old Hobbit tutorial better? Yeah. Unfortunately, they're no longer available.
Come along. We are not safe just yet.
Brave Spirit, it is time to flee. The Baggins they captured is not the Baggins being hunted. The brigands will not follow us when we learn of their error. But it would be wise to be far away. So let's go rescue our friends. Let's follow Strider as he helps us escape. Okay, this teaches you about doors and portals. You can use them to travel through other areas of the game. And you'll see this glowy icon. That'll be a portal. And sometimes they'll be hanging in air. Typically, they'll set them up so they are hanging through a doorway. So, to open a door, you right-click on it, and then you just run on through. Sometimes the game will hitch, and it won't let you actually go through it. And you just run, walk back a couple steps, and then run toward it or jump through it. Uh-oh, Omdir! Oh no! The door's locked. Hold fast, Omdir. Strider is breaking his sword. His not Narsil sword. Oh no, Omdir got hit by the Black Rider. And as you see, there's a hobbit over there. Because if you play a man, you're over on that side of this particular incident. So Omdir got struck by the Dark Rider, the Black Rider. And here's our other hobbit friends. But Strider's fellow ranger is grievously wounded. Oh no.
This was a dire turn of events.
Let's get to Omdir to safety. It is to Archet that we must flee. Because right now we're in the Blackwold camp, which we can't see where we are necessarily, but we're basically near Archet, so. Alright. Bounder Boffin, you should go back to the Shire. Its bounds must be kept safe. Come with me. Wonder for Mundo's safety. When the wicked folk west of the Greenway are searching for Baggins, alas that my true charge must wait. Whoa, what true charge could that be? Strider.
Wounded by a Black Rider, the ranger Umdir escaped with his charges into the wild, making his way back to the village of Archet.
There, Captain Brackenbrook, a retired sellsword, has allowed Strider and his companions to stay and take respite from their cares.
I'm actually going to leave myself a note here. What our character names are. I see my friends right here. Hello. There's also somebody here with the name of Horsefeather. Horsefeather, are you one of us? Because that would be funny if you were. Alright, so we're gonna only do a couple of the quests today because I don't have enough time to take you through the entire thing. Alright, so Cinnamon, Imintrude, and Alewine. We are going to form our very first group. So what I'm going to do to set up a group, you go to your chat and you're going to invite somebody. You're going to /invite and we'll get Ermintrude in here first. And then we wait for that recruit to accept or decline. You'll see a window pop up and says yes. Alright. You can also choose somebody, like, you know, select them and right click and choose Fellowship. Invite them to the Fellowship. And their name, as you see, their name will change colors as well. If you're the leader of a Fellowship, it will give you the option of how do you actually want to handle loot. By default, loot is handled by something called round robin or, you know, need pass, where you're given the option of how you're going to handle loot. And we're going to talk about that here. So you see loot rule or loot quality. By default, the game will set loot quality to uncommon. So anything that's actually pretty good, everybody in the group will have to try to roll on it, and whoever rolls best gets the item. There are some groups that will do it round robin with a need greed pass. Like you can say, well, I need this for my class, or I need this for whatever. There's also a thing called Master Looter, where Master Looter is basically the leader of your group, your fellowship, gets all of the loot, and then they just hand it out based on what they think is appropriate. I personally don't like Master Looter simply because it can cause too much drama. If you trust your group leader to be fair to you, then you can go with Master Looter, and then they will divvy up the loot how they feel is appropriate. So I prefer the default, which is round robin with roll pass. So you can either roll on something when nobody cares whether you need it or not. The difference between need, greed, and pass is very important. Pass means you don't care about it, you don't want it at all. Greed means you are rolling on it just because you want it. It doesn't really matter. Need is where some drama can come in. If you enable need, greed, pass versus just roll and pass, it sets up an additional thing where a player can say, I need this item. And a person who rolls need will outroll a person who rolls greed. So needs come first, greeds come later, pass just like you're giving it up entirely. I don't like need, greed, pass because some games, and I honestly don't know the details of how LOTRO does it, some games will make it so that you can't roll need on an item your class can't use. Like, you see a really cool lore master staff that you want to add to your wardrobe, but you actually have a lore master in your group. So if you roll need on that, you're messing with that lore master. So I don't know if the game will even let you roll need on something your class can't wield. I don't think so. I mean, that would be fair to not allow you to roll need on something you can't actually equip. But round robin with roll pass is pretty good. So everybody's going to get some kind of loot. But you can either choose, yeah, I want this item, or I don't want this item. So it's basically a yes or no decision there. So I just added your names to my notepad so I remember for next time, because we're going to keep playing on Monday. We only have about a half hour, maybe a little less, to keep playing. And no, Cinnamon, who just said in Fellowship chat, looks like it should have been a hunter so we could have one of each. You can play whatever you want to play. I ain't fussed about it. I mean, quite honestly, in the starting instance, you can get through it with whatever class you're playing solo. We're going to roll over everything. It's going to be fun. Alright. So we've joined our first fellowship. And as you see, there's the round robin thing that we were just talking about. And you see all these names over here. And so these are the members of my fellowship, so I can see how they're doing. Now, we have no healers in our group. We won't need any healers. I mean, 4 of us, we're going to steamroll over everything, and it's going to be good. Now, one of the cool things about being in a group is if you're close enough to your fellow group people, your groupies, your fellows, if they complete something in a quest, you will also, in a lot of cases, it will also help you complete the same thing. So let's say there's a new player in your group who's a little bit uncertain of themselves. You can run up to a bad guy, tag it, fight it, and they'll still get credit for that kill. Sometimes if they're too far away, it won't count, or in some objectives, they still have to do their own work. So just keep an eye on it. All right, so 3 hobbits and a dude walk into a bar. So we notice we have Celandine over here with a quest ring. It's glowing a little bit. And this is the Thief Kitty interruption of the day. And you notice it has the 1 ring on it. So we need to talk to Celandine to pick up the quest. Everybody still has to pick up their quests.
Thank goodness you're awake. That fellow dear seems very ill.
And this is an actual quest. This is like an actual book quest. This is the introduction. So let's go click on Celandine and pick up her quest. And I will pick up a cat. Because Thief Kitty is being a butthead. And one thing I want you to notice about this is it tells us what our next objective is. And it tells us what gear we'll get when we do this. When we complete this quest, this is the items we'll get. You notice the scuffed chainmail breastplate is got a red icon around it. That's because my character can't wear it. I'm a burglar. I can only wear light armor or medium armor. I can't wear heavy armor. Now, Eowyn, when he looks at this same quest, there won't be the red icon here. If you notice, if I highlight the scuffed chainmail breastplate, it says heavy armor in red, which means I can't use it. Alright, so we're awake, we're exhausted, but that ranger got us all safe to Archit in the end. I'm terribly worried for his friend. Omdir looks so very ill. You can check on him if you like. He's just over there to the west of where I'm standing. Do you see him there across the lane? So let's accept our quest. And it's going to give you the tutorial real quick here, and you can, read all of this. It will tell you about the quest guiding system. And this little arrow will point you in the right direction in some cases. There are some quests that will not give you this handy-dandy arrow to tell you where to go, because the whole point of the quest is to discover something. So, there's that. Alright, and it can help keep track of 5 quests at a time. And you can also go to your quest journal with the letter L by default. And you can also add and remove. We've gone over this, but it's helpful to be reminded of this stuff. That you can, filter your quest log however you like. So we've got our quest from Celandine. You notice the ring turned blue. And if you right click on her again, you'll get some more dialogue. It will kind of, give you a hint or just a little bit additional. But most quests won't actually speak to you. They won't have a voice actor repeating the quest. Except the Bingo Boffin ones, which you really should do. So we need to go talk to Omdir. Now if we look over across the way, let's turn around. We're going to go look over here. We see Strider and Omdir. Omdir looks like he's pretty beat up. One thing I want you to point you to. This is Aragorn, son of Arathorn, as we players know. But we don't really know. But if you notice, we go over here. Despite the fact that Omdir is clearly wounded and his quest ring looks very dire indeed, we still are sitting here with 5 hope because we're hanging out with Strider, right? And if we move away, that will go away. And there are certain characters that will generate higher hope, some of them lesser hope. Some of them will cause dread, like hanging out with Frodo. So Omdir is really upset. So we want to see for ourselves how he's doing. So we right-click on him. You notice he's got the flamey gold ring. This basically means an epic quest, which is ready to turn in or continue. So right-click on Omdir.
Don't trouble yourself on my account. It is only a chill.
And he, of course, is downplaying his injury. He ran up against the Nazgul, and he's downplaying it like a dummy. Alright. And he gives you some more story. Like, he's saying some stuff. And then he's basically... This is all talky. So, he's worried about Strider, his lord, his chieftain. So, let's talk to Strider and see what his problem is. Yeah, we don't believe you, Omdir. You're fibbing to us. So we're gonna go right-click. Imintrude turned in the quest and she leveled up! Nice! So Imintrude is gonna be the, Ermintrude, I should say. It's gonna be our Granny Burglar. That's awesome. Oh, I get it. It's like a Gertrude kind of thing. Oh, you're so very clever. Alright. Strider has a quest for us.
There are too many deeds to be done. All pressing, and none of them easy.
Stuff is happening. Now, here's the thing. When it comes to looting items, if the choices you have is stuff that you can't use, like, literally, there might be something your character could use, but it's not an upgrade or not, you know, better for you, then what you can do is you can choose one of the other options. Just because the chainmail shirt that I can't wear is red, which means I can't wear it, I can still pick it as my quest reward if I want to trade it for money, right? And that's what you do a lot. The heavy armor is actually going to get you the best gold coin, the best coin from the vendors when you turn it in, when you sell to them. But since I actually can use this leather shirt, you notice it's a lot better than the shirt that I have on. So, of course, in this case, the decision is the obvious, choose the thing you can use. So I will do that. Now, let's see. We also have a, let's see. Cinnamon is a burglar. She added the burglar. You're a minstrel. So Ermintrude is actually a minstrel. She would only be able to wear the threadbare cloth shirt because minstrels are a light armor class. They can only wear light armor. But if she already had a good piece of light armor for that and she wanted to get more money, she could then pick one of the two higher ones. But me, as a burglar, I'm going to choose this ragged leather shirt.
Perhaps you can help,
okay.
Friend. Captain Brackenbrook will not heed my warnings.
The people of Archet will be in great danger when the Black Wolves execute the plan we witnessed last night. The Black Wolves were trying to do some shenanigans. The captain here, a man named Brackenbrook, does not like my look and did not heed my warnings. Pray, speak to him on my behalf and see if you can rouse him. Every moment you spend here is a moment which your true charge plunges blindly nearer to unfathomable peril. The Black Knight... The Black Rider you saw seeks the Baggins, and our friend Mundo is not the one. Alright, so this tells us what we're going to get if we talk to Captain Brackenbrook. Go over here. Alright, so we're going to go talk to Captain Brackenbrook hanging out over here. A nice fellow with a style and mustache. Right? Alright. Alright, do we wander in with the Rangers? He doesn't like them, so he's a bit, a Rangerist, I guess. See, the Black Wolves mean to attack us. I don't believe you're full of it. Alright, have always been about. They are an unruly lot, but not murderous. Alright, I'll not be attacking them without good reason. Talk to people, get their opinions, and then we'll think about it. Okay. So you see, you got 3 things to do. And again, you see on our little mini-map, we have quest rings that point out the people we're meant to look for. So we're going to go to the people that we need to look out for, and one of them is right behind us over here in the corner by the fountain. So let's go over here. And we're going to go talk to this nice lady, and she is Kate Henseed, so she's one of the 3 we need to talk to. So you right-click on her. Let's get Ale Wine over here. Alright. Everybody found Kate Henseed. And you can get her opinion on things. So she doesn't believe it's going to happen. And the game will tell you she believes Archet is safe. That's because Kate is a fool. That's okay. All right. So we see on our mini-map, we still have one ring available in immediate view. So let's head that way. So we're going to follow me. Follow Safi. Now, one thing you're going to see, though, is on my name, because I'm the leader of our little party, you see everybody else has a little green dot for their icon in the corner, or in the mini-map. I'm yellow because I'm the party leader. Tomas? Come follow the bouncing hobbit. Alright, we're over here. And if you notice, Tomas, in your screen, you'll see little green dots for like Cinnamon and Ermintrude. You should see a yellow dot for me. And if we're too far away, that dot will change into an arrow pointing which direction we're in. So y'all stay here. Don't go anywhere. And I'm going to run off screen far enough away so that everybody shows up as arrows. So don't follow me right this second. I'm going to go far enough away till everybody shows up as arrows. You see green and yellow arrows in the corner? Or you should see at least one yellow arrow off into the side. That would be me. And as I come closer, I should then turn into a yellow dot. Your computer is being jumpy? Alright. We'll keep you with us. We're not going to be going too much longer because I, again, unfortunately have to be somewhere in 15 minutes. Here on Langeval, in fact. Alright, so here we go. We're going to finish this specific quest and then we'll take any questions you might have. How about that? So let's go this way. Follow me now. And this also gives us, you notice the game has cleverly given us a tour of the town. Also, one fun thing is if you look under this archway, excuse me, you see the sign here, the badger getting his drink on. If you highlight a lot of pub signs, it will tell you the name of the pub. It's really cool. So, there's the Mad Badger Inn. Previously, a long time ago, this was actually a different starting instance. And there were a lot more quests, but they tightened it up because, you know, people been there, done that, and it was actually very long. So they kind of made it quicker. So here's our another character. This is Peg Pruner. She, see if she believes our warning. She does seem to be a little bit doubtful. She's like, I don't know. So let's see what she has to say. She is also a vendor. So if you wanted to, instead of doing the quest, you wanted to use her vendor services, you could actually do that right now. But I don't recommend doing that. Then you have to go back and do the intro.
What do you need?
And see that our friend is wounded. I hope it wasn't the Black Wolves that did it. She apparently seems to believe the captain, but she'll help any injured people she finds. So she's helpful, but she doesn't believe you either. She will learn differently. And you see, some of these townsfolk have actual names, like Sergeant Redroot over here. And you can actually go to the sergeant. Someone ought to tell Captain Brackenbrook to mind his own business? What? Yeah, lag is really bad because there's a lot of people on. In fact, how many people are on Langeval right now? 875 people who are not anonymous on Langeval right now. So the game is a bit laggy because there's more people than usual on. So I wonder, and some characters will just have additional flavor text to give you, and you'll put your mouse over top of them, and it'll turn into this, you know, a word bubble. So he's a bit of a grumpy soul. He's not a quest guy, but you click on him, he gives you this extra text. So he's complaining. So let's ignore him. He's not our quest focus, but sometimes you can click on other NPCs in game and they'll give you some flavor text. Nothing really important. You're not missing anything by doing it. So we're going to go over here. Now, over here is going to be important. These are your character trainer, your class trainers. And if you notice, one of them will have an icon over their head of your class symbol. Now, class symbol, if you can see over here, where I have my 3 little ducks all in a row, you see Ermintrude has a lute as her class symbol. That means she's a minstrel. You'll see like a burglar with a knife under a cloak. You'll see a guardian with a shield. A hunter will have like a bow. A champion will have a pair of cross swords. Those symbols are unique to those classes. And you'll notice your class symbol over your class trainer. So for looking at me, I'm a burglar. Fast Tread Burrows has a little icon over his head. But the guardian trainer, or I'm sorry, the minstrel trainer, Tolman Gardner over here, playing a little Bodron, doesn't have a class symbol because he's not my class. However, Ermintrude will see the lute over Tolman Gardner's head. It's really cool. So, Constable Thistlewool does not believe us. We're going to come back to our trainers in a minute. Once you hit level 2, you'll need to talk to your trainer. Back in the day, the trainer characters would actually sell you your skills for a small amount of money. But these days, you automatically acquire skills. So there's not too much they're useful for anymore, except there's some things they can later on sell you when you when you hit certain levels. Alright, so the Black Wolves mean to attack us? No. Constable Thistle doesn't believe us either. They don't have a leader. They fight amongst themselves. So they couldn't raid a squirrel nest, let alone our town. Okay, so all 3 of them believe Archit is fine. So we have to go back to Strider over here. Come follow me back to Strider. Now, there actually used to be quests you could pick up in the pub. That's why there's still doors here, but we're not going to go in there anymore because we don't have to. So we're going to go back here to Strider, and we're going to turn in our quest with him.
Peaceful folk everywhere. It is an enormous task to convince them that evil people with evil intentions will commit evil deeds.
All right. Yeah, minstrels are awesome. I love playing minstrels, except in current content. I'm bad at it. Alewine, just... Oh, you both leveled up. I'm probably going to level up here. I'm going to zoom out so you can see the level up effect. It's actually really cool. So I'm going to pick my ragged leather gloves. I'm going to finish now.
Before you try to fight.
And it's actually the white tree that shows up around your character. It's a nice effect. And other players, as you can see, will see your leveling up. Okay, so it says to talk to the burglar trainer. We're going to get there in just a second. But first, let's open up our inventory, because we now have 2 items to deal with. And also, there's a tooltip called, a tutorial hint called Inventory Management! Yay! Ilwina. Very possibly would. Very possibly. Alright, so this can basically gives us the basic idea of our inventory. We've gone over inventory stuff before. And what we want to do is, if you remember, we got much better items. These gloves and this shirt is better than the ones we started out with. So we want to right-click on the item, and it will switch it out. So now I have this better item. And then right-click my gloves. So I have this better item. And then it will tell me about opening the character panel. Inventory needs a whole stream in itself. We've already gone over inventory to some extent, so we're not going to do it again. But here's inventory management. And it tells you about being able to edit your inventory slots. So if I wanted to, I could put these 5 blocks over here. And I can manage my available storage in any of these 6 slots that I want to. I just like to put them all in one because I just like them. So, we've managed our inventory. Let's go talk to our trainer. So, we have 2 burglars, a minstrel, and a guardian walk into a bar, which we totally could do right now because, you know, there's the inn. So, we're going to go back to the trainers. We're going to complete the trainer quest, and that's going to be the last thing we do today. And then on Monday, we're going to continue our journey through Middle Earth. We'll have more time on Monday, a little extra hour, because there isn't another show on the channel, and I don't have an appointment. So, all right, we're going to talk to our burglar trainer who has the little ring. Well, I'm going to, and Cinnamon is going to, because we're both awesome burgs. All right. Disarming the competition. So follow through the quest. Ermintrude and Eowyn will have slightly different versions, but it's pretty much the same thing. It's going to tell you to go to one of these training dummies and attack them, and then it will show an icon in the... It'll show one of your icons will start glowing and have a little circle around it. What time on Monday? It's going to be the same time as we've been doing class the entire time, which is 4 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. server time. So basically this time of day. So Cinnamon, I can see her name, but I really can't see her, but I know she's there because I can see her shadow, because that's lore. And she is basically doing her starting quest. And because we're in the same group, it put me into combat as well. So you see my character looking like she's ready, waving back and forth. She's in combat. We're going to wait till Cinnamon gets done and gets out of combat here. So each class will have their own unique thing. It was like, okay, attack a training dummy from stealth with cunning attack, which is this particular skill. And then that will move the thing forward. So, Eowyn has completed his quest. Excellent job there. Good work. Now, I'm going to do my quest because Cinnamon doing her quest didn't help me with mine. So, we're going to discuss open tapping. It says, you've discovered an open tapping monster. Most bad guys in the game are open tapping. What that means is anybody can attack them, do any amount of damage, and get credit for whatever you attack them for. Like, whatever loot, they'll drop loot for you. If it's to help, you know... Even if somebody else does the majority of the damage to that bad guy, you'll still get credit for hitting them. So, let's go through our quest here. It didn't used to be that way, and it used to be a pain in the rear end. So, we need to be from stealth. And you're going to get some tutorial tips in the corner that will be specific for your class. Like, Ermintrude would not get the sneaking one. She probably got a different one. And same with Eowyn. Alright, so you can stop sneaking if you attack a foe or interact with something. Like if you loot a chest or a corpse, it will take you out of stealth. Alright, so I'm supposed to attack with cunning attack, which is this one. So I have it key bound to 2. There we go. You have struck the training dummy with cunning attack. And sometimes it does take a minute for it to stop attacking. You can untarget the training dummy in a minute. But the dummy is still hitting me, so that's fine. Whatever. We're going to go back to our burglar trainer. We're going to complete our quest. So you get to choose one of these options. And I'm actually going to choose the dagger. All 3 of these have the same rewards. Sometimes you're going to see something that's going to be a better weapon than another. Then you choose whatever's appropriate. I'm going to choose a dagger because burglars and daggers go together. Alright. So there we go. There are some training dummies that you can attack enough to kill. And there's some of them that you just can't kill them. And I'm going to move this new tarnished dagger into place of my old dagger because it's a better dagger. Actually, what I'm going to do... You always put your best weapon in as your main weapon. Always put your best weapon in as your main. Alright. So that's going to do it for part 1 of starting our game. We're still in the starting instance. So we're going to hang out here. And then on Monday, we are going to continue our quest. We're going to go back and talk to Strider at that time. And we'll continue our fun. Fidelidon, I know exactly what you're talking about. But anyway, thank you all for being here. I will see you on Monday for our final lesson. We're going to finish our starting instance on Monday, and then I will then log into my Mythgard character, and those of you who wish to join the Mythgard kinship will be invited. If you don't want to join Mythgard or you have another plan for that, that's perfectly fine, but you are welcome to join us because you're cool. Yes, it will be at the same time, 4 p.m. Eastern. So I will see you then, and we'll continue our questing, all right? And if anybody else gets to this point over the weekend and wants to join our group, we can add 2 more people to our fellowship. So if somebody watches this asynchronously and can get to this point by Monday, you are welcome to join us. So I will see you then, and have a great weekend, and be safe, and be smart, and finally, if you can't be good at it. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.